Hello and welcome back to our channel. I am going to be discussing yet another hot button topic dealing with the Black relationship. In this one, there was a post that I shared on Facebook. It was actually in response to another post that a young man put up. The young man was talking about why Black women are so defensive in the presence of Black men. Okay. And I just kind of built on that by adding an experience that I had. Now I'm going to read the post to you that I posted on Facebook, and then we will take it from there. Now I said in response to this young man's post, I actually responded on his post, but then I added it as a separate status on my page, or on my profile, should I say. Okay, the post goes like this. It says, many Black women are on the defensive when in the presence of Black men because they are treated like less than a woman at times. Okay, notice I said many Black women, not all Black women, but many Black women are on the defensive because of these reasons. And so the post goes on to say, one day, myself, I was struggling with opening the door with a shopping cart in front of me. And there was a Black man who walked right by after looking at me struggle. This is my experience, y'all. And then I go on to say, out of nowhere, a white man comes and says, let me help you with that. And then I went on to say in the post that, no, I'm not putting the Black man down, and no, I am not elevating the white man. I said, let the situation speak for itself. Then I closed it out and I said, what the hell just happened here? You tell me. Laugh out loud. Okay. I put that on there because I see the responses that we get from our brothers a lot. And guess what? They showed up in this particular post. All I did was shared an experience. And that experience was that I was struggling with a shopping cart trying to get out of a door. And this Black man, as a matter of fact, let me set the stage for you better. There were two doors there. He saw me struggling to get out of mine. He looked right at me and he proceeded to go right out of the other door. No, let me help you with that. Oh, let me get the door for you. None of that. He just looked at me and just walked on by. And a white man comes out of nowhere and he says, let me help you with that. That was the end of that. He opened the door. I got my card out. I said, thank you. And that was the end of that. Now, let me give you some of the responses that were put on this post, which I think is just really, really sad. Now, the response that kind of got me the first time, a young man says, well, I don't know if he's young or old, but anyway, he says, a door? Really? After 400 years of raping our women and feeding our babies to alligators, and you get that? He called him out of his name. You give him props for helping you open a door? Then he says, GTFOH. Y'all know what that means. Get the F out of here. So he got that angry simply because I shared a story. All I did was share the story. So he comes on here with disrespect. Comes on there disrespected. So I said, you know what? I got to block this man. I don't have time for this foolishness. Don't have time for this foolishness. Now, I did get a response from a young lady as well, a mother, that I was kind of wondering why. She was saying, well, you said... This is what she said. She said, okay, you're sharing your story. That's fine. It's your page, your post, your experience. But in your first sentence, you said Black men. That groups all of them together. And doesn't address it like a one-time thing, one Black man. She says, I have sons and a host of brothers, and I can guarantee you that they wouldn't do this. And so that was, in my opinion, deflection, because I made it clear that many women feel this way, but not all women. But many times when you want to talk about these situations, people want to deflect. Okay, they want to deflect. And I went on and I responded. I said, look, I have male family members as well. I know it's not all men. I hear other YouTubers as well who always have to explain, I'm not talking about every person in that group. Whether we're talking about men, women, young people, old people, white people, black people, you're not always talking about every person in that group. And to have to think about that because people can't focus on what you're talking about, that deflection is so very nerve-wracking. Okay, but that one wasn't a big deal, only in the sense that it's taking away from the fact that we're saying, look, we've got to do better by each other, right? The next one came from a man who said, it ain't his job to help you. And I said, it ain't his job? I didn't know that anyone had any openings or anyone was filling out applications to open doors for people. In other words, why does it have to be someone's job? Now, he lit the post up with so many other insulting statements to other people as well. That was one of them, where he said it's not his job. It's not his job? Really? So it has to be a person's job in order to be just a decent human being and open a door for someone. Ridiculous. It is ridiculous that someone feels that it has to be a job in order for them to have common courtesy for another person. And so all of this tension back and forth between our men and women is just very tiring. Now, there's another one that I wanted to share with you, where a young woman responded on the post. Now, this one, it really got under my skin. And one of the deflectors came on the post and responded to this young lady as well. But here was her experience. She said she had a very similar experience with a young black man that claimed to be in the truth. She said she was walking into a gas station and this black man stopped her to share the gospel, and behind her was a white man. I'm just going to read the statement the way it is. She says, behind me was a white man who opened the door for me. As I turned back from saying thank you to the white guy, I was immediately called a bed wench, a female dog, but of course, he said the other word, and told I disrespected myself and my fellow kings. Before I could even get a word out, the white man immediately stood in between the black guy, who at this point, his tone had become very aggressive, and myself. He stood between them and said, let me help you inside, while the black man is yelling insults to this man. I kept my composure, grabbed a few things, paid for my things, and started walking to the door, when the white man then asked me if it was okay for him to walk me to my car. I said, please. And all the way to the car, the black man at the door continued to disrespect me until the point of the gas station manager coming outside and told him to leave or he was calling the cops. I did nothing to make this man react to me in that way. I never replied to the names I was called or even said I didn't even know the white guy. I'm sure what made she says, I'm sure what made the black guy so angry. I think she meant to say, I'm not sure. But because that has been the situation with many men who claim to be in the truth. I certainly keep my distance and never make eye contact. Now that's very sad. That's very sad that she had to go through this just because she said thank you to a white man who opened the door for her. Now, I shared an experience with you all years ago when I was in my early 20s where one of my co-workers helped me. I had a vehicle that just basically did something at work. It wasn't acting right. I wasn't going to make it home. My coworker actually helped me to get my vehicle over across the street to a service station. We were in Inkster, Michigan. And while he was there doing whatever he was doing to my vehicle, there was a black guy at the gas station who saw us at my vehicle, and he just blew his top. And he started yelling and saying, "What? Is it the money? What are you doing with this so-and-so? What are you doing with this so-and-so?" Just said all this different stuff. He pulls out a wad of cash. And he said, "Is it the money? Is that why you're with him?" And I quickly diffused that. I said, "Look, this is my coworker. My car is acting up. He is helping me. That is all." I felt the need to explain this to this man because he didn't know me or this white guy. Didn't know what our situation was. But yet, he's going off on us like that. That was a frightening moment, I can tell, for Jerry. That was his name. Because he had that look and he was turning kind of reddish like, you know. I wasn't necessarily afraid, but I was a little kind of taken back. I was on guard, like, what is this man about to do? I wasn't afraid because I figured if I explained things to him, he would back off and leave us alone. I said, "Look, this is just my coworker. Ain't nothing going on." But what makes him think that I would have wanted to be involved with somebody like him in the first place, who's that angry towards two people he don't even know? Anyway, it's really sad that this is the state that we are in, to where a brother even feels the need to say it's not another man's job to open the door for you. And if he does, if a white man opens it, then you blow your top. You got one guy, I can't call these people brother, one guy who thinks that if you say thank you to a white man who does open the door for you, you've got to be a bad wench and all other kinds of low life things, right? But then you have this other guy who says it's not his job to open the door for you. As if someone's taken applications for door openers. As if common decency just doesn't register for some black men. I had to throw that some in there for all you deflectors who know I'm not talking about every black man. I'm talking about who the shoe fits. And yes, I have a right to talk about these things. A lot of brothers feel like anything you say about a black man is teaching. You're teaching and you're not allowed to teach or speak, or you got to keep silent. What was the purpose in even creating a tongue in a woman if all she was expected to do was to keep silent? That is a weak excuse for keeping women docile and quiet when they are being abused or mistreated. You're not allowed to speak or say anything. Kind of reminds me of another video I heard by a brother, a young man. I'm not going to get into it, but he was basically breaking down why a lot of black men respond to black women the way they do, because they feel powerless. That was pretty much the gist of his video. He was talking about how they feel powerless against everybody else in the world, the Gentiles, white men, Chinese men, whatever, because they feel powerless. The only person that they can actually have any amount of power over is the black woman. And so this is why they are aggressive. I may talk about that in a separate video because there were some very deep things that this young man talked about in his video. But anyway, again, that's a whole other subject. But I just wanted to expound on why there is this thing where a black man feels like it's not his job, where he feels the need to be rude and nasty if a black woman explains her experience with a black man. Now, on the flip side of that, let me tell y'all this. There have been plenty of brothers who have been very polite, opening doors, doing all kinds of polite things. But you and I both know that if I or anyone puts up a door and say, "Oh, a black man held the door for me," it would sound very silly because most people expect that. It sounds foolish, like, "Oh, a black man held the door open for me." Like we don't expect that type of behavior. So it's so very rare that we got to put up a video to talk about it. I feel like common decency is something across the board that we should all have. I've held the door for men before. Black men, it doesn't matter. Old people, young people, women. I've held the door for children. It doesn't matter. That's just common human decency. And so to think that, oh, why don't you do any videos? Oh, if a black man holds the door for you, should I? Is it that rare that we need to do a video? This is talking about the dysfunction because we need to fix this. This is not a good look. It is not a good look when you have people or men of other cultures who have to say, hey, let me get the door for you. Since he didn't do it, let me get the door for you. Or if a man of another culture has to say, is he bothering you? Is he scaring you? Let me walk you out to your car. That's not a good look. Now, I know a lot of my brothers who listen to this channel. You are not like these men that left these comments. I already know that. And I thank some of you for not coming on in the defensive and just so upset because you know it's not you. You're like, hey, I get the door for my sisters. I do that and I do it proudly. So you don't feel the need to defend yourself. Only someone says hit dogs holler or something like that. If you were guilty of something like this in the past and you're not like that anymore, you don't have to comment. If a woman is sharing her experience, like I said, all I was doing, in my post, I said, I am not putting the black man down, nor am I elevating the white man. I'm just talking about a situation. Let it speak for itself. What the hell just happened here? Why? Now, I got to talk about this, the why. Why did this man not feel the need to hold the door for me? Now, some of the excuses that we got, I'm calling them excuses. Please don't take offense, family. Please don't take offense. You know I love you. But I'm talking about this thing. But some of the excuses that I heard was that he wasn't raised that way. Maybe he wasn't raised that way. Or maybe he was having a bad day. Why do we feel the need to provide excuses for this type of thing? Because others pointed out that these same black men would almost fall over themselves, breaking their neck to open the door for a Becky. So you mean to tell me common courtesy kicks in if it's a woman of another race, but when it comes to your own, you'll let it literally knock her face off, slamming it and letting the door slam in her face? So I really don't like the excuses. I don't like he wasn't raised that way or no one taught him. I feel like, man, you 30 years old, you 40, 20 years old. The excuse of nobody taught you, like you're some, I don't know what to call it, like some grown man that had an inability to understand what common decency is. I think for anyone, whether you're a man or a woman, old, young, a child, male or female, I feel like at some point we should understand right from wrong. And trust me, a lot of people do. A lot of people just like to play dumb. Like they don't understand. Like they don't understand what it means to hold the door for someone. Now, I can understand if a person just wasn't thinking or something like that. But when a person makes eye contact with you, they look at you struggling and they keep on walking. I have a problem with that. I'm sorry. I've actually had other women come back and open the door, say, oh, let me help you with that if they see you struggling. Because that's what you do when you see another person trying to do something as simple as opening a door. And so the bigger issue with us is that there is a problem that black men and women are having with one another that needs to be resolved and fixed. We can forever point fingers and say, well, black women have the loud mouth and black women are this and black men are that. We can forever do all of that. And now I do understand. Let me bring this part to the table too. Some brothers have stated on the post that they have held the door for women, black women, and these black women looked at them like they were crazy and acted as if they were offended or upset by him holding the door. Now, I've seen that type of behavior as well, where some black women act like they have a chip on their shoulder. I have seen that, where they can be very rude to a brother. So we got a lot of stuff going on backward and forth. There are some very rude black women. I remember there was a video that was circulating years ago where this young black man was working at a, wait a minute, was he the customer, or it was at a fast food restaurant? There was an exchange. I don't remember which one of them was the customer and which one of them was the employee. But there was an exchange between a young man and a black woman, and he was being very polite to her, and she was being very rude to him. And it got to the point where he just popped off and just went off on her. Because she was a very, very rude young lady. And if you don't want a certain type of treatment, certain type of words to be said to you, then you've got to behave a certain kind of way. We can't have a chip on our shoulders either. Because if everybody's walking around with a chip on their shoulder, we will never get past all of this stuff. Never. Alrighty, this is one of those subjects that you can just go on and on about because of the dysfunction that we have. The dysfunction makes it so difficult to deal with one another sometimes and to navigate through things because the attitudes are thick. But if we understood how childish it all was, maybe we would stop this nonsense. If we saw it for the foolishness that it was, and how other people are looking at us. And I know somebody's like, I don't care what other people think. You should care what other people think when you are looking foolish. It's high time for us to wake up out of this sleep that we're in. This madness, this sickness. It is not a good look, family. It is time for the house of Israel to repent. With that, I am out.